Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining to get underway. Appreciate everyone and delighted you will join us today for this webinar on how to secure home workers with Cisco Meraki. During these difficult times, it's always good to stay in touch. So on the agenda today, we've got myself. I'm just going to give you a quick introduction to CDW. Some of you may have already joined previous WebExes, and thank you for that. And some of you may have already been to see us, met us, and know us in great detail. So I'm just going to give a quick overview of who we are, and then I'm going to hand over to the key speaker, Jack Meads, Meraki security specialist from Cisco Meraki, obviously. Jack was formerly based here for Cisco in Dubai, so has great knowledge and understanding of the market and the customers here. Is now based in the UK. So thanks for joining slightly earlier than it is for us, Jack. During the session, if you have any questions, you're obviously group muted. So on the right-hand side, there's a Q&A bar. If you want to put your questions in there, if there are a lot of questions, we'll come back and answer individually after the event. But if there's a few, or we can handle them at the end and we've got the time, we will do that. Afterwards, we'll be sending an email communication to everybody to let you know how to communicate with us and access the recording, which this is being recorded, of these slides and the narrative. So about CDW International, we're an $18 billion company with a $14 billion market capitalization. We're listed on NASDAQ. So we're growing rapidly, and emerging markets growth of 22%. We are a global organization, one of the few global SIs, true global SIs. We've got offices in North America, UK and Europe, obviously the Middle East, Africa, India, Hong Kong, Singapore, and Australia. We have obviously a UAE office, which has been here since 2007. So plenty of experience and knowledge of the local market. And we've got over 10,000 global co-workers. The interesting point in that is that over half of those are in service roles. So we are well catered for from an engineering and technical and support perspective. We've also, one stat that isn't on here, we've actually got over 250,000 customers worldwide. So a real depth of experience, a real depth of knowledge, and market penetration across many, many verticals. We're a top 500 solution provider, and we're in the global top 5. And in the UAE specifically, we've got 24/7 support and service with 35 local UAE consultants. So what do we do essentially? Well, empowering customers through technology. So we're a comprehensive IT solution provider. So that's basically ground up IT solutions from data center to client device. We've got a breadth of experience working with, as I said previously, many organizations like yours. You have a dedicated account manager, we have pre-sales, we have many different folks to help at the front end, and then backed by highly qualified and certified technology experts. So together we deliver an objective guidance to create IT solutions for you. So the right team, the right knowledge in the right place. So what do we sell? So 4 key areas: client device, collaboration, networking, VPN, including security, cloud SD-WAN. These are just some of the partners that we have. So from a client device perspective, the usual suspects and more: Lenovo, Dell, Apple. We have the highest levels of certification in all of these. So on the collaboration piece, for instance, we have both hardware and software solution delivery to the likes of obviously Cisco, Ribbon, Poly. Networking, our largest partner globally is Cisco and Cisco Meraki. We have a multi-billion-dollar partnership with them, and also backfilled with other security and firewall type solutions from the likes of Barracuda and Fortinet. And on the cloud SD-WAN, obviously the likes of VelaCloud, Forcepoint, Citrix. But we've got over 1,000 vendor partners worldwide. So have access to not only our own depth of skills and knowledge, but access to pretty much any vendor you care to mention, either through our global partnerships or local partnerships. So how do we do it? It's fairly traditional model, actually, as you'd expect, from left to right, advisory through to assessment, implementation, adoption, and manage. But how does that break down? Advisory. So if you've got a problem, you don't know what to do about it, we can help you come up with the ideas to attack that. So what do you call it? Pre-sales, or it could be a packaged workshop. It could be a series of one-on-one meetings. It could be teleconferencing, as we are now, but to help advise finding out what the initiative could be to start solving those problems. Once you have those problems, obviously you need to assess how to address them using tools, intelligence, data, and our experience to make specific recommendations for the outcomes you need. Then obviously, once we go into a solution purchase phase, we can implement that for you. So what does that mean? That means our expert engineering teams can implement, obviously, the technology and ensure it works first time. Then, of course, there's adoption. And obviously, with more and more collaboration tools and the market providing many complex but deep set tools, you need to adopt end user adoption, technology adoption. So you need to fully utilize. We all know how deep these products are, and so we can help you with that, with workshops, with documentation, with training, anything that's required. So get the best results from your solution. Once it's in, obviously, you need to manage it. So we've got a great team here. We've got our own team in the UAE, as I said, but also we've got access to a global team based in Europe, UK, and the Far East. So we can do true follow the sun, multi-language support, both remotely and on site, to support you moving forward. So that very brief overview, thank you for that. Now I'm going to hand over to Jack Meads, which is what you've all come along for. As I said, Jack is a Meraki security specialist based in the UK, working for Cisco Meraki.
Yeah, thanks very much, Matt. Thank you for the introduction. It's a real pleasure to be a part of this event, and it's always is a pleasure to transact and to work with you guys at CDW. For me on the call, my name is Jack Meads. I am the UAE Small Business Meraki Account Manager. Super excited today to be on the call with you all today to talk about how we can help securely mobilize your workforce. Before we do that, I must ask one of the panelists to pass the ball over to me in order for me to share my screen, and then we can get started. Fantastic. So I've got the ball now. Can I ask one of the panelists just to let me know when you can see Mark?
Yeah, we can see that now, Jack. Okay. We can see that now.
Brilliant. Okay, so yeah, as I said, my name is Jack Meads. I sell Meraki into UAE's small business segment. I've got around 20 minutes today to talk to you, and without further ado, the agenda for today's session is look at what does the ideal working remotely scenario look like, and then moving forward, we'll look at what are some of the barriers today that are stopping us from actually achieving that scenario. Once we've covered both of those topics, we want to then dive into what Meraki as a company would suggest as the ideal technology or the ideal infrastructure in place to enable you to keep those productivity levels up high, and to feel ease about working at home. And obviously the main topic today is doing all of this in a very secure manner. I'm going to take about 5 minutes at the end to go through a live demonstration with you all. And then I think we've got a good chunk of time for some questions and answers. As Matt, if we do get a big influx of questions, we may have to come back to you all after the event via an email or some other form of media to come back and tackle those questions. So first things first, what does the ideal working at home scenario look like? Well, we've been doing this for some time now. I don't know about you guys, but I've been home since the 10th of March, and every week's different. You know, some weeks are better than others, but essentially my best weeks are when I have the most office-like experience as possible. Now, what does an office-like performance or experience actually look like? Everything's got to be as close to our day-to-day lives as possible. Everything from a login experience, applications you need access to. You know, email and intranet are some of the obvious ones. But for example, myself, there are two applications I critically every single day. One would be Salesforce, the other would be WebEx. If I'm having problems actually accessing those applications, it's going to severely impact my day-to-day work and my operations. Two key points many people think about as well is we all need access to voice over IP. We need to have video conferencing calls, or we need to dial into conference calls using our IP telephones, and we need a secure line. We need a secure line that we can manage and we can prioritize. And the other key thing is we need access to IT support. Not only do we need access to them, but they actually need access to us, and they need access to uh, the ability to troubleshoot remotely and to fix things without actually physically having to be. So for me, those are the key points, and those are the key things we need to emulate in order to have an ideal remote working scenario. Now, let's look at some of the barriers that are in the way of us from actually achieving that today. Well, the guys you've got working from home, your remote workers, they could be anything from salespeople, marketing people, HR, finance, you name it. But I'm guessing most of them don't have much IT knowledge in terms of implementation and spinning up and setting up networks. That's a challenge, right? And also, if something goes wrong, I don't have anyone around me to ask for help. So again, that ability to be able to troubleshoot remotely is absolutely imperative. My favorite one, and I really hope that we're not experiencing it today too much, we've got variable connectivity, depending on where you're calling from, what device you're calling from. Um, Most people I know, because I used to live in the UAE, as Matt said, most people on the call today are probably getting connectivity from their local service providers. So you've probably got a Do box or an Etisalat box, and this is what's basically granting you connectivity. These things vary depending on where you are. They vary in strength, in bandwidth capabilities, and also security capabilities as well. So that's something. These days, we've got constricted access to corporate resources, as well as software applications as well, like Salesforce, as I mentioned. We don't have much access to voice over IP telephony because we don't have the right equipment in our houses to enable. And for me, really, the keyest one on the list here is most people at home are working consumer grade network security. Perhaps they've got a little antivirus on the laptop that they're using, and they think they're safe from there. I think we all know by now the reality is that just isn't enough to make sure your workers are secure. And things are changing here on a daily basis, let alone a weekly basis. Our new working environments have completely shifted. And unfortunately, there will be a handful of opportunistic people out there who are looking for exposures in your network to essentially expose those vulnerabilities and make money back off it. We need enterprise grade network security rather than consumer grade network security. And again, those two key points of limited access, IT support, and IT teams visibility into our networks as well. So before we talk about what kind of products I would recommend having to enable this, I want to quickly touch on how the Meraki portfolio was really built, purposely built for remote manageability. Now, you can see at the top of the screen here, at the top of the PowerPoint, the whole portfolio from our switches, our firewalls, our access points, our cellular gateways, systems manager, Meraki Insight, and even our smart cameras are all built so that they can be managed from the cloud. And that's what you're really seeing in this diagram here. All of the products at the top of the screen are managed in the cloud, and essentially in return, we give you this rather nice looking dashboard, which essentially, if you were the IT manager or the IT admin, you would have access to this dashboard, which I will show you in a few minutes on the demo, and you would be able to control, monitor your whole network as you please. I think we've got a bit of a mixed bag on the call today. So some of the customers here might know Meraki pretty well, and you might be big Meraki fans. And to those of you, I'd like to say a big thanks for supporting us. And the others on the call might not really know much about Meraki at all. For those who know and use Meraki, some of the figures you'll see at the bottom of the screen here, just to name one, 10 years experience in scaling cloud infrastructure. Those of you that use Meraki will really know what I'm talking about there. Scalability is almost our bread and butter. It really is built into the components of our networking equipment, and you can change rules and policies to things individually or at the masses. So we can, at a click of a button, change the way that 3,000 or 4,000 devices in my network operate and behave. And that's really what we're talking about when we mean scalability and cloud infrastructure. Moving on, we are a true zero-touch remote provisioning company. There is zero pre-staging, zero on-site configuration required, and zero training required. Again, if we come back to that idea that our remote worker isn't going to have much IT in, he's not going to be network literate. Okay, so we need to make that slightly easier for him so that when the box turns up, he doesn't have to configure all of the VPN settings and the security settings. He's not going to have the skill set to be able to do that. So we want to deliver a box to him that essentially out of the box, plug it and play. He's ready to go. And the ways in which we can do that is when you actually place an order for Meraki, before the Meraki devices has even left our warehouse, you as the IT administrator will have access to your dashboard. You can then set up your new devices using the serial numbers that we will provide for you before they've even arrived at your location. You can set up these devices so that they're acting in such a way in which you want them to act before they even arrive. So that's what we mean by zero-touch provisioning. If you want to mobilize your workforce at the drop of a pen, then I really don't believe there is a company that can do that quicker and more effectively than Cisco Meraki. So that was a nice little intro into what I'd like to talk about now, which would be Meraki's remote working solutions. What I'm about to show you, there's essentially two different ways of achieving the same thing. I'll show you both of those ways on the demo, and I will explain why just momentarily. So the first thing we need to do to create that working from home corporate environment, establish a strong VPN connection in a secure way. In our first instance, that would be delivered by either the Meraki MX or the Z appliance. Okay, some of the hardware highlights across these models, they've got up to 2 WAN port connections, 3G, 4G, LTE failover, so a lot of redundancy is built into these products. We've got some models with embedded LTE modem, so they don't actually need wired connectivity. You can spin them up with a SIM card. High availability mode, again, in some models, very redundant offerings here. And here's the key point. We've got additional Ethernet ports with PoE and PoE Plus options. So for some of you, a remote worker will need access to things like, he'll need connectivity to things like IP phones, printers, maybe a video conferencing unit. Really what you're going to leverage these PoE ports for. And as you can see on the left-hand side of this slide, some of the different variety of different offerings there as well. So that's essentially why those PoE ports are important for some of you. I do understand that others, similar to myself, right? I just need connectivity. As soon as I've got my laptop, I can connect into VPN. I've got all the access to my applications that I need anyway. But for some of you, it may be different. So essentially, to illustrate that in a diagram, on the right-hand side here is your remote worker. Now, he either has a very small MX or a device at his home office, and he's going to connect via VPN into his headquarters. Now, take note of this. Headquarters, we also need an MX. Depending on the amount of sites that are connecting, or the amount of users that will be logging on, or the bandwidth constraints and requirements that you might have, will change the model type needed. But essentially, you need an MX in the headquarters, and you need an MX or a Z3 with your remote workers in his or her home office. So that was a nice diagram that I thought I'd share with you to illustrate essentially what it looks like. It's enterprise security integrated. This is essential for considering a working from home strategy. Now, we are backed up by Talos. Every single device that or Meraki's warehouse is all integrated with Talos. For those of you who don't know what Talos is, I would strongly recommend you take 2 or 3 minutes out of the day after this call and just Google Talos and jump onto their website and have a little look at some of the statistics that they see in terms of the amount of threats, the amount of malware that they stop on a daily basis. We're literally talking about billions of threats. And Talos essentially is a group of around 300 of the most desired data scientists in the world, and their bread and butter is looking at threats and malware across the world. It doesn't matter if it's on Cisco technology, their job is to find a way to fix it. So all of our goods are backed up by Cisco Talos. Some of the other features you get from a security standpoint, my 2 favorite ones here is Cisco Umbrella. So this is really your DNS layer of protection. How are you protecting your employees when they are reaching out to the internet, really from an IP-based level of protection there. The other one, God forbid, some malware or malicious file does manage to find its way inside my network. What are we going to do there? How are we going to contain it? How are we going to watch it? And how eventually are we going to remediate it? Well, me personally, I would use advanced malware protection and threat grid. All of these things are available on Meraki, providing you purchase the right license. Now, that brings me on quite nicely to the licensing part. So for those of you who are new to Meraki, to have a Meraki network, you need to purchase the hardware and you need to attach a license to that as well. The hardware will not work without a valid license. I want that to be crystal clear. Now, the entry-level license would be enterprise licensing. And you can see on the left-hand side of the screen here, the kind of features and functionalities you get access to with the enterprise license. Most important one for me is you get the full SD-WAN functionality there. And if you were to go for advanced security, and to be honest with you, I think it's absolutely essential that you do consider that, because then you get things that we just spoke about regarding advanced malware protection, snort IPS, content filtering, and geo IP-based firewall rules. You can see on the right-hand side very quickly, difference in size. If you're extra small, we would recommend a Z3X. If you're extra large, would recommend an MX450, and then anything in between there as well. Okay. So that was one way of creating environment. And again, I'm going to show you both of these ways in a live demo momentarily. The other way enabling this is through our access. So again, a couple of the hardware highlights here. 3 and layer 7 identity-based firewall and enterprise security. Again, coming back to that enterprise-grade security there, it's imperative. Client and application visibility and control. That really is, for me, the best part of the dashboard, is having the application visibility and control over the entire network. It's incredible. And then the last piece is we've got built-in location analytics and heat maps. We use a lot of these good use cases in retail as well, where we can help create wayfinding applications for your customers when they're in your shops or in your malls or whatever it might be. Again, just to illustrate that on a diagram, we've got our remote worker at home again. Here he is looking all happy. to all of his business critical applications. And instead of an MX or a Z3, he's got an MR. That is quite simply access point, guys. He's connecting his MR through the internet to the headquarters, which is where our MX resides. Different licensing. You could see the basics on the enterprise license. And again, you get that DA layer of security with Cisco umbrella when you go for the advanced license. So again, I really encourage you guys to start thinking with security at the forefront of your mind, and have a little look at the advanced licensing options that we've got here. Without further ado, I'd like to show you some of the things that I've just been discussing. Can one of the panelists just let me know that you can see the Meraki dashboard? Just want to make sure there's no delay on the call at the moment.
Yeah, we can see that, Joe.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you for letting me know there. So this is what I see when I join Meraki's network. I'm going to show you a live demo, and all of the sites you can see here are all of the worldwide corporate Meraki offices that we have. You can see a lot of the statistics here in terms of the amount of usage, the different tags, etc. I could even look at it from that point of view, or I can look at it from a really nice holistic Google Maps point of view. And again, it's a nice bird's eye view of the amount of devices, the amount of networks I've got all over the world. But the purpose of today is how to show you how to securely connect from home. So I want to look at how do we set up our teleworker? Your teleworker is now at home. How do we set him up? We want to go to security SD-WAN and site-to-site VPN. Okay, essentially, when you guys get this stuff, everything's going to be off, so you're not going to see anything that we've got below. We've got the ability here to create our new VPN tunnels and our the different ways in which our network will interact with each other. First of all, we want to make our teleworker a spoke, because he's the spoke going to his connection with one of my hubs. My hub essentially here, guys, is my headquarters or my data center in which my large MX resides. So we're going to add a hub here, and I'm going to choose, for example, I'm in London Finsbury right now, and I want to connect via San Francisco. And underneath here, we've got our different VPN local network settings. These are already pre-configured, guys. Again, I'm showing you into our London office here. So all of what you'll see is literally what we use on a day-to-day basis, and this is how I operate on a day-to-day basis. And it is as simple as that. Obviously, a lot of the hard work's been done for me because these local network settings have already been pre-configured. But I've 2 or 3 clicks there, and I've already set up my teleworker. Now, that's if I wanted to do it individually. I did mention earlier that we've got some configuration templates that I'd like to show you, and these are for mass deployments. Very, very simple. I'm going to go to Organization, Configuration Templates. And you can see we've already got a configuration template here spun up for our teleworkers over in San Francisco, I believe, with SFO being there. So here's my configuration template. I'm going to click into that template. I now have access to this template. As I'm not the IT admin, guys, I can't actually make changes and enforce changes. But if I was, everything I'm doing, there'd be an option to click save at the bottom here. And then I would be able to make those changes to the network. So if I wanted to apply the same policy that I just made, but to the masses, I would go onto that worker configuration template I have. I'd go back to security SD-WAN, site-to-site VPN. And again, we're going to follow the exact same process as we did before. And this is already set up. So we want to make this guy a spoke. We choose the different hub. We change the VPN local settings, and we would go down to the bottom of the screen and we would click save. It's as simple as that, guys. Now you have the ability to send thousands of workers home and still achieve the same productivity levels. Now, if we wanted to do the same with our access points, as I said, I'd show you 2 different ways. We're going to go into wireless. We're going to go access control. This one's even more simpler. we're going to scroll down and take a look while we can at the different things that I can do here when I'm looking at my access points. Everything from network access, from the different radius servers that we might want to interact with, to the pre-shared keys that we might want to share with our other employees, the splash as well that we can see here. You can either use your own or one from our selection of splash pages. And here we are. We come down to addressing and traffic, client IP assignment, VPN tunnel data to a concentrator. Select your concentrator. Could be wherever you are in the world. You might have one in Georgia, have one in Saudi. It could be anywhere. For now, I'm going to go London. We can even test connectivity appliance, and it's going to give you a live score on the right hand side. And those are two of the most effective ways in which you can spin up working from home environment for, it could be 1 or 2, or it could be 1 or 2,000 employees. That concludes for the demo. I just want to very quickly recap before we open up the floor for Q&A. We are a complete remote managed platform. You can see everything in our portfolio here on the screen. It's all cloud managed. This really is our bread and butter. So I wanted to kind of finish with that point. And then one is we've got a current promotion that is running between now and July, where we will give you an additional year's licensing for free. So if you were to purchase 3 years licensing, we'll give you 4 years licensing. It would be great if the CDW team could leave the customers on the call today with my contact, my email address, or my mobile number. For those that do want to get in touch with me directly, I would also strongly encourage that we include CDW in that conversation. And if we want to talk about, your business in specific, and the kind of products and the environment that we believe is the best for your business, I'm very happy to have those individual calls. That's it from me. I think I've stuck within the time guidelines. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, guys, and I'm going to open the floor up for
Thank you, Jack. Very informative, very relevant. So basically, we are going to open up to Q&A. I was slightly concerned that the Q&A box isn't working, but up here it is. It appears to be. If that isn't the case, then I'm not sure there's a great deal I can do about it. We had a question on a Z3 earlier, Jack. Maybe you could tell us a little bit more about that, because that's a really exciting new piece of kit that is very sort of a lower cost, but being able to deploy for something like call centers, for instance, if you want call centers from home. Perhaps you could tell us a little bit more about that piece of equipment specifically. Certainly it's something that CDW are embracing in some of our packaged working from home offerings that we're bringing to the market, which has been inspired, if that's the right word, during these difficult times. So could you tell us a little bit more about that appliance, perhaps?
Yeah. And actually, I think during this weird and scary time, there is a lot of inspiration to be taken. Our Z3s have been fundamental in helping some of the healthcare systems over here in the UK spin up networks in days rather than months. And to your point about call centers, that typically is a 2 or 3 month job, as you guys would probably. Imagine now trying to emulate that environment, but you haven't even got a call center where everybody's in the same room anymore. So create that environment, but from so the backbone of this whole build is different now. Again, we managed to do that within days rather than months, and Z3s are really at the backbone of all of this. I'm going to just take a quick moment. Could I ask for the ball to be passed back to me? I just want to share my screen. I've got a nice slide for the Z3 in front of me.
I think you've still got it.
I can see, there you go, back with me now. Okay, great. So, guys, I'm on the Meraki website. I would strongly encourage everyone to take a look at the website. As informative as I hope this session was, we also got to think about some of the easier ways in which we can come and find some information as well. So we can look at all of the products here, all of the different models that we offer here, and some of the models that we spoke about today are the different MXs. And here you can find all these different MX devices. If we scroll down to the bottom, I believe our teleworker devices are here. So we've got Z3s and we've got Z3C. The only difference there is one is backed up with cellular and one isn't. If we look at some of the product details, I can guarantee this is going to be more informative than anything I could tell you guys about the Z3. It's a nice place to come and get information. I do strongly recommend all you got to do is go meraki.cisco.com, have a little navigate of yourself through the website, and you get all of the different functionalities and the key things you need to know about the Z3 here. If you want to learn more, you can go on a data sheet. And if you want to learn even more than that, please reach back out to the CDW team, get on the call with me directly. I'll bring my trusted engineer. He'll be more than happy to dive through all of this with you guys individually.
Thank you, Jack. Certainly one of the things we've experienced at CDW is some of our customers have struggled to provide adequate customer care or telephony. Certainly one of the banks that I'm with are unable to provide any real level of telephony for me. So it's basic online. So they haven't been able to move their core service workers to home efficiently. And this is a really good way of doing it, whether it be, the IP phones from your desktop at home in a secure way and replicating that with your call center manager, everything at home with an employer, a cost-effective way in a rapid deployment. So that's resonating at the moment.
I think the mistake that I'm seeing at the moment, Matt, that I'm seeing some businesses take is we're all forced to make decisions in not a lot of time at all anymore. So people are now sending workforces home, changing the way that businesses are, and they're doing it very, very quickly. And in doing so, they're making some wrong decisions, some decisions which are essentially exposing themselves to malicious intent. And I really hope to God that we don't see an influx of cyber attacks happen to these companies over the next couple of months. But key point here and the key takeaway here is when spinning up these networks and allowing your workers to work from home, security has to be in the forefront. And it's not something that we want you guys to think about. We want us to think about it. But just please do keep security in mind when trying to enable your home workers. The last thing we want to see is for businesses to be exposed down to opportunists.
Okay. Well, thank you, Jack Meads. Appreciate your time today, and I also appreciate everybody's time on the call today. I'm still not 100% that the Q&A is working. Either everyone is incredibly well informed, or really we've answered all their questions. I apologize if you were trying to type a question and couldn't, but we will be sending out a communication after this with how to access the material, and also Jack's details will be in there, and so you'll be able to have a recording of this WebEx and access to the slides. And if you do have any questions, obviously just respond and we can either set up a WebEx call, or hopefully soon we'll be able to come and see you. So I'll leave it there. Ramadan Kareem, everybody, and hopefully we'll be back to normal soon, and we will be safe and secure in offices as well as working from home. Take care and thank you again.
Thank you all.